All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you've glanced at your bank account lately and thought, wait, where did it all go? Trust me, you are absolutely not alone. Today we're unpacking the mystery of the shrinking wallet. We're going to figure out exactly what's secretly eating away at our hard-earned cash and why the rules of the financial game just seem to keep changing on us.
Section 1. The reality of rising prices.
We're starting at the most relatable place on earth, the grocery store. I mean, this perfectly captures what you're already feeling. Imagine strolling down the aisle last year to grab your usual bag of rice. It set you back 50 rupees, right? Today, you pick up that literal same bag, same brand, same weight, but now it rings up at 60 rupees. Nothing about the rice changed, it just costs more.
So, we've got to ask, what gives? Why exactly is your money buying fewer things than it used to? When you hand over that cash, why does it suddenly feel so much lighter? This is the core question we're answering today, because honestly, it affects every single one of us.
Which brings us to Section 2. What exactly is inflation?
Simply put, inflation is just the broad increase in the prices of goods and services over time. But the second half of that definition, that's where the real damage happens. It causes the value of your money to fall. Basically, as prices go up, your purchasing power drops. The exact same cash buys you less today than it did yesterday.
Let's make this super concrete. Picture a crisp 1,000 rupee note. A few years ago, you could take that 1,000 rupees, buy a solid amount of groceries, maybe some clothes, and still have some change jingling in your pocket. But if prices rise by just 10%, suddenly that 1,000 rupees doesn't stretch nearly as far. It's the exact same piece of paper, but its real-world power has secretly shrunk.
Moving to Section 3. Why do prices rise?
So why does this happen? Well, there are three main culprits here. Number one is demand. If everyone wants a specific product, but there's just not enough to go around, prices naturally shoot up. Number two is rising production costs. If a factory suddenly has to pay way more for fuel, electricity, or raw materials, they're going to pass those extra costs right on to us, the consumers. And third, global events. We're talking wars, natural disasters, or giant supply chain bottlenecks that ripple all the way down to your local market.
Section 4. Impact on your daily life. This whole economic concept, it totally leaks into almost every corner of your routine, especially in four key areas. First, food. Even a tiny bump in everyday stuff like cooking oil or grains can wreck a family budget. Next is transportation. When fuel gets pricey, your bus fare, taxi rides, and even those online delivery fees spike. Third is housing, because expensive construction materials mean higher rent. And finally, education. When school fees and textbooks get pricier, families are forced to pour a huge chunk of their income just into the basics.
And this leads to a seriously frustrating situation with salaries. You naturally expect your paycheck to grow so you can keep up, right? But if your wages are growing slower than inflation is rising, you're gonna feel strapped for cash. You could literally get a raise, earn more money than you ever have in your life, and mathematically, you're still falling behind.
Which brings us to your savings. Imagine hiding a stack of cash under your mattress for 10 years. Seems incredibly safe, doesn't it? Well, actually, while the physical number of bills stays exactly the same, their purchasing power is silently evaporating. This is exactly why just hoarding cash is a losing battle. It's basically shrinking without you spending a single dime. And it's a huge reason why people invest. They're actively trying to grow their money fast enough to outrun inflation.
Section 5. Managing the inflation balance.
So, how do we fight back? Let's walk through the playbook step by step, using the Reserve Bank of India as an example. Step 1. High inflation hits. Step 2. The RBI steps in and raises interest rates. Why? Well, that triggers Step 3. It makes borrowing money a whole lot more expensive. Step 4. Because loans cost more, people and businesses slow down their spending. And Step 5. With all that frantic spending cooled off, prices finally start to stabilize. It's essentially a massive balancing act to chill out an overheated economy.
But hey, plot twist, inflation isn't actually always the bad guy. A really small, steady bit of inflation, that's a fantastic sign of a growing economy, where businesses are expanding and hiring. The real villain is fast, high, unpredictable inflation. That's the kind that completely wrecks living standards and creates massive uncertainty for everyday families. So it's really all about the dose. All right, so we've seen that inflation isn't just some boring textbook term. It's the invisible force shrinking your wallet every single day. So here's the big question I'm leaving you with. Now that you know exactly why your grocery bill keeps changing,
How are you going to adapt your strategy to plan, save, and invest for your financial future? Think about that the next time you check a price tag. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep learning.